have delved into. I think about it in my head often. I've never really brought this out on a show. So I'm really excited to go into this whole shutdown of dreams, how to overcome it. Now, I also know that you have been there yourself. Interesting enough, I did a little research on you. You're an East Coast guy. I'm in DC right now. You were in Auburn growing up. Now you're in Vegas. But as a dream, you did have a big dream. What was that big dream way back in Auburn as a kid?
Yeah, I remember 8 years old sitting at the holiday table. I'm half French, half Polish. There's a Polish side of the family, and I have aunts that are twins. And when they laugh in harmony. And you can't, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't not laugh once they get going. And my cousin Johnny, he was a class clown. And he would be recapping Saturday Night Live skits, Steve Martin, Robin Williams routines, and have everybody laughing. And I was just in awe. I was mesmerized as a kid. I just thought, like, what he says and how he says it changes, brings joy to the room. I was just in awe. And I was just like, that's what I want to do right there. That's what I want to do for a living. And I stood up and I threw out a punchline. And I hushed my whole family. And I slid back into my seat and I said, I will never, ever try to be funny again. and just to correct a little bit what you said, I buried that dream. I was like, nope, that's not for you. You know, people told me, look, you can learn a lot of things. You can't learn to be funny. And so, like you said, I believe, my personal belief is well-meaning adults train the dream out of us.
Yes.
And, you know, and I understand it logically now as an adult. That's not your skill set. Let's find what works for you. Like, their intentions were great. They wanted to save face so I didn't embarrass myself. So I did what everybody told me to do. I went, found my passion. Okay, I'm not funny. And I was a quiet, shy, awkward introvert who wasn't funny, seriously, and I can prove it as well. And so I went to business school, found business was my thing. I love business. I started my own little landscaping business during my college years. And then after school, I went out for the American dream and I bought a Subway sandwich shop.
Now, I love this Subway story. This is like, you're right. It's the American dream. Go get your own business, put up your shingle, and come on, it's a corporate entity. You just have to show up and do the job, right?
Yep. I was going to have 20 stores, have all these employees working for me, be a multimillionaire before I was 30, sipping Mai Tais at a tiki bar with all the biggest names in business, and Warren Buffett was going to ask me for advice. But about a year and a half later, and you may or may not know this, but at that time, Subway had a 98% success rate. I worked really hard to get in those 2%. And my business bombed. They opened another Subway right down the road for me, took all the profits off the top, had to get a day job just so I didn't go bankrupt, and like got rid of most of my employees and took the day job so I didn't have to pay myself from the business just to survive. And it was crazy. About a year and a half later, some miracle, God had somebody buy it from me. The challenge was I had a personal loan of 20 grand, plus I still had my school loans. So even though I didn't have the business, now I had a business loan, but no business to pay it off. And I was just at a low point.
Now, you go home to your family, you tell them that this is all blown up. And if I'm accurate, that's when you kind of said, I'm still going to go do stand-up comedy. Is that where you went back to the stand-up comedy dream?
Well, not kind of, but let me just clarify because this is important. And if you're listening to this, look, I buried that dream. Like, that was not on my radar screen. But God, in my opinion, God has a way. But God. So one of my buddies saw that I was down and depressed, and he gave me these motivational tapes. So I'm listening to Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, and I'm driving down the street back and forth to my day job now. And Brian Tracy asked a question. He said, what would you dare to dream if you knew you wouldn't fail?
So that's the big question.
That was the big question. What would you dare to dream? And I really wanted to take it serious because I was having horrible thoughts. And so I literally was shocked. I had to pull over to the side of the road and think it through. And all of a sudden the idea popped in. I would be a comedian. How cool would that be? Make audience laugh for a living? That would be the ultimate. But then all of a sudden the little voice of reason on my shoulder said, but you're not funny, which was true. I wasn't funny. However, that wasn't the question. The question was, what would you dare to dream if you knew you wouldn't fail?
And now, I've heard that question many times. Few people have pulled over in life and really taken the question seriously. Interesting that you did. But then did you jump into the dream, or did people ever get a dream?
It woke up that 8-year-old dreamer. That question woke up that 8-year-old dreamer. And I'm like, look, I live at home. I have school loans. I have business loans. I live at home with mom and dad. I've got nothing, which means I've got nothing to lose. So, and I'm so thankful I was at that low point, because if I wasn't at that low point, Trigger, I probably would have worried about me or my ego or whatever. And so listening to these tapes, they said, go to people the best. That was like the common theme with all of them. Go to people the best. They think differently. Mm-hmm. And that made sense. And so I walked into it like quiet, shy, introvert, awkward Darren walks into a comedy club and never even been in a club before, watched the show. And one of the comedians that night, his name is Chris McGuire. He seemed approachable. So I walked up to him sheepishly after the show, trying to look confident. I was like, hi, my name's Darren. I want to try this. What do I need to do? And he asked me a question. He goes, are you funny? I said, no. He said, good. Like, good?
Really?
What do you mean good? You know, now he had my attention. I'm like, what do you mean good? You know, but I was trying to be super honest and super transparent.
Right.
And he said, people who are class clowns, like my cousin Johnny, he said, that's one skill set. And around friends and family in that environment, they're funny. But if you took that person out of that environment and put them in front of 100 strangers and handed them a microphone, they couldn't make them laugh. But that skill set in front of the strangers can be learned. Like, he handed me an ounce of hope. Here's a guy who was where I wanted to be, or what I wanted to try. It wasn't a dream at that point.
Right. It
was just like, I couldn't live with the regret of wondering, what if? What if Brian Tracy was right?
So then you stepped up and Darren bombs. On stage.
Yeah, he said two things. Number one, go get the book. I'm like, book? There's a book about stand-up comedy? Of course, there's books about everything.
Right.
But I didn't think that way. I didn't think about stand-up that way. He said, number two, you need to go to open mic nights. Duh. Now watch yourself. Compare yourself to someone else who's starting out. Didn't even dawn on me. So on Sunday, I went to a little comedy club called Stitches in Boston outside of Fenway Park. And I walked in, I was like, the stale beer, the sticky floors. I was like, this is where the cool kids hang out. And I watched people go up for their very first time, and they were horrible. And I thought, I could do that. I could do that. It inspired me. You know, when I told my friends and family, they compared me to Seinfeld. Now here I was looking at other people just starting out. I was like, that I could do. I can embarrass myself.
So that was okay to know you're going to tank it, but everyone else is. You were in a safe environment to tank it.
Yeah, it's an open mic night, and so
that's liberating.
I went to Stitches every Sunday night for 2 months. It was April 26, 1992, and I brought some of my friends with me because who I was, mommy's boy, quiet, shy mommy's boy. I would never have done this. So I told them, I said, you make sure I go up there. No matter how bad I cry or whine or scream. I'm like, I'm never doing this again, but you make sure I go up there tonight. And, you know, we talked a little bit, Trigger, about faith early on. It's like, what faith did it take for that first step David took towards Goliath?
Yes.
For Moses with a speech impediment to go try and convince Pharaoh. Like those first steps, I can't imagine well, wait a minute, I can't imagine how they felt because this was crazy. So I even have it on video. I show it in my speeches, and I bombed. I was literally shaking,
Yeah.
not even exaggerating. And I was so nervous that what I was saying and what I was doing was not in sync at all. And I told this one joke about Dr. Robert Goddard, who had launched the first rocket in history in my hometown. And you know, from East Coast,
Yeah.
every town has a claim to fame.
Oh,
George
yeah.
Washington slept here, the Boston Tea Party, the Battle of Bunker Hill, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So my town had this about the rocket.
Yeah.
But I was so nervous. What I was saying, what I was doing wasn't in sync. I said the rocket took off and it went vertically.
Well, you got to laugh there.
And with my arm, if you're listening to this and not paying attention, with my arm, I did horizontally. And in that instant, I realized I messed up. And I just said, shoot. That's not the actual word I used that night. I said, shoot. And everybody laughed. And I'm looking around like, why did you laugh there? I don't get it, but I'm thankful.
Right.
So the rest of the set, I bombed. I walked off stage. One of the other comedians put his arm around my shoulder. He's like, don't worry, man. It's just your first time. And I remember thinking, don't worry, my first time. Did you see what I did? I got a laugh. No one told me I could do this except Brian Tracy. I'm going to figure it out, even though it was a mistake. One thing that worked. If I get rid of everything that didn't and figure out how to reproduce the one thing that did, I could do this.
So you took that as a win.
Oh, that was a huge win. But everyone thought I bombed because to them I did. To me, I won.
So right there, let's talk a little bit about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's about stepping in the dreams and the naysayers. We're going to talk more about the naysayers, but those naysayers can pull you down into a black hole so fast, especially their family. But then that mindset of, I did it. How powerful is that mindset shift for people that don't understand what you're really talking about right now?
I believe that when you have a dream, you're assigned a naysayer. It's a test to see if you're serious. And I had one of the biggest naysayers told me I will never earn $1 being on stage. And by the way, I have my first dollar right here. Because I saved it to prove that naysayer wrong. But I think it is a test. How serious are you? Got a dream? Here's a naysayer. Let's see if you're going to move forward anyway.
Well, and then you eventually, and again, the story, the process, but eventually you become the 2001 world champion of public speaking, from bombing to champion. That's an amazing journey.
Yeah, it was 9 years overnight success, but but it is true, and when I walked off that stage, I thought, I'm going to figure this out. I was all in, that was the decision. I'm like, George Burns is 100 years old doing stand-up. I'm 23. I got time. So I said, I'm going to find every mentor that I can, get every book that I can. And I don't care how long it takes. This is what I'm going to do. And I didn't even know what a speaker was at the time. So it was stand up, and then kind of God brought me a detour once I found out what speaking was, because my business is called Stage Time University, because my mentors told me, and when I was in subway mode, I had an ego. I thought I knew better. I was right out of college. I was 23. And there was a great lesson that I learned from Subway. Now, by the way, I don't blame Subway at all. It was on me. I made mistakes. So if Subway law officers are listening, shut up. I don't blame you. So, but they at Subway University, when you're learning how to run a store, they teach a lesson about, are you a farmer or are you an MBA?
Wow.
And I was like, what? They said, are you a farmer or an MBA? Remember, they have 5,000 stores at the time. And they said that the most successful franchisees are people who were formerly farmers.
Right.
People who knew the ethics of hard work and knew that they didn't know. So they followed the system. MBAs, on the other hand, kind of, even though I wasn't an MBA, I was in that category, thought they knew better than the system, and they didn't follow the system. So Subway, ego is in the way. Here, stand up, I knew that I didn't know. So they said anything, and I'm like, teach me, I'll do it. And they said, any day that you don't get on stage, is a day that you don't grow.
So the reps, get the reps, get the
It's
reps.
the reps. Experience is the greatest teacher. And
Mhm.
what they're saying is get the experience. And I'm like, but don't I have to be a good writer? Yeah, but you have to test the writing out. The experience is the more important part. You can't, until you get comfortable on stage, you can't even do new material well, never mind old material well. And so think about this trigger. I'm a wannabe comedian,
Right?
no comfort, not funny, no routine. I'm still figuring it out. And in Boston at the time, there was 3 open mic nights and 100 wannabe comedians vying for those spots.
Okay.
So it was really hard to even get a free night, and you're like once a month.
Right.
Like ain't nobody got world class by getting on stage once a month. And so I'm sitting at my desk at my day job back then. I worked at Bose Corporation, the stereo speaker company.
Mhm.
And this newsletter came across my desk about this thing called Toastmasters. I'm like, what's that? I'm reading. I'm like, hey, here's a place I could get stage time during the day. Comedy clubs are only open at night. I could fail twice a day. So I didn't know what Toastmasters was. I walk in and I noticed something very different from the comedy clubs. These people were warm, encouraging, and sober. So I immediately joined 4 Toastmaster clubs because I saw the value of the stage time. And so I did both stand up and
Mhm.
speaking for about 6 years. And then in 98, I realized, thanks to a mentor, I'm like, I'm a speaker. I'm not a comedian. Like I can do it, but it's not where I shine and it's not where my heart is. So
But you now weave them back and forth. You integrate the humor with the keynote speaking. But I'm curious. Toastmasters has a great reputation of not just helping you speak, but learn the craft of storytelling. And comedians, it's not one joke; it's a story that you tell to weave the jokes. Really, isn't that more what's
yeah,
about?
and I'm so thankful for my startup stand-up background because it gave me the confidence that I can handle anything. I mean, give me a sales group, bring it on. I don't care if they're drinking, I will ruin you. Um, so it set the groundwork for confidence
Yeah.
on stage, but also, one of the things that I teach now is I have an event called Connect Quickly with Any Audience, and it's using comedy secrets to connect.
Yes.
See, most presenters, even professionals, we know our content, we're confident, but every single audience is different. They live in a different world.
Right.
So I think, my opinion, it's our job to connect our content to their world.
So you have to learn to read the audience. You have to know who you're
Well,
talking to.
not even read them, but we teach people in that event how to research. And
Oh.
Chris McGuire, that comedian that I first met that very first night, he and I work together. We do this event together, but I hire him. I have a group of plumbers and HVAC contractors coming up in Vegas. Biggest keynote of my career here in Vegas, coming up in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I am not a blue collar guy. That's not my world.
Okay.
So I need to do the research about the venue, about the industry, about the people. I'm the closing speaker. I'm going to go spend 2 days at the event. No charge I want to hear what they hear, see what they see, think what they think, and create humor to connect. So it's almost like I do like 5-10 minutes of comedy up
Yep.
about them to get them to connect to me and trust me. And then I deliver the content I was there for.
I remember someone else early in my career talking about do the research, learn their language, learn their mannerisms a little bit. What's the trade secret? So you do get the mindset of you're really in with them while you're presenting, not talking to them. You're kind of one of them.
Absolutely. And I mean, I just spoke a while back about to the Worldwide Water Park Association. Again, not my world, but I needed to learn it. And, so I sat in the day before and there was somebody who was, and at that one, I was talking about All In, and they had a Hall of Fame for the Water Park Association. And They put a picture up. I saw the guy. He was, inducted into Hall of Fame. They told his story. So I went and had lunch with him, just at round tables, took a picture of me and him. And I asked him, I said, what's your take of all in? How does that apply to running water parks?
Yeah.
And he told me, he gave me a quote. So I took his quote, put it in my slides, and a picture of me and him up there. Now that connects my content directly to their world with a guy who just got lifted up by the whole association.
In real time, and you are in like Flynn. Like, that's a great tip to grab that and put that in your deck. So great success, world-class speaker. Now let's go back in time and let's talk about the naysayers and how to overcome that, because I think it's interesting that, again, like you said, we're untrained. They tell us the fears, the doubt, the limitations. They crush our dreams. I live with a lifelong stutter, and my parents and friends, especially my friends, did it. My cousin was the worst one that doubts my dreams. Now I'm a 35-year broadcast veteran, public speaker. Same type of situation. So what can we do when they try to untrain us? What can we do when we are blanketed with that? No, not you, not good enough.
Yeah, action. The biggest way to overcome doubt or that voice in your head is to do something. At my desk at Bose Corporation, I had 2 quotes in front of me that kept me moving whenever that voice of doubt comes up. So I say, when you hear the voice of doubt, drown it out. And so these 2 quotes, one was anonymous. I don't remember who it was, but it said that the mighty oak is just a nut that held its ground. And the other one was Vincent van Gogh said, if there's a voice inside your head that says you are not a painter, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced. And so I computed that into, if there's a voice inside your head that says you're not funny, then people laugh and the voice will be silenced.
Why do you think the naysayers do that to us? Why do you think so many great dreams, which you talk about, dream big, go for it, all in? Why do you think they do that? Where does that come from, do you think?
And I just think it's easy to criticize others. People, it's their ego that they want to tell you you're stupid. Look, we all judge. We do.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like to judge louder than others. And if you have a dream, they're wanting to point out you'll never get it. And they want to be right, And again, we could talk all day long about why they do it. Who cares? We are the CEOs of our dreams.
Mm-hmm.
We can choose who we listen to and who we don't. And so we also got to be careful who we share our dreams with.
Ooh, let's go there for a minute. Let's
Sure.
talk about that, because sometimes we're so excited we just splash it everywhere. Sometimes we need to protect and guard ourselves from our own mouth, don't we?
Absolutely. And look, and I have to catch myself. So I'm still guilty of this. And I still have that little imposter syndrome on my next big crazy ridiculous dream. And honestly, I think if we're motivators, you and I are speakers, we're motivators. If we truly want to motivate people, who are we to motivate others if we're not working on our next big, crazy, ridiculous dream?
Oh, yeah. Big, hairy, audacious goals.
Amen. Amen. So sorry, I don't know if I went off on a tangent.
No.
But I have to tell you this. So I won the world championship in 2001.
Yep.
Telling that story around the world, 47 international cities, every state, blah, blah, blah. So in 2012, this man named, do you know Mike Rayburn?
I actually had just had Mike on the show a few weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
We had a great time.
Mike moved to Vegas many years ago. And when he did, we started a mastermind group. So we're sitting at BJ's restaurant and we're at this booth table and we're going around the table and, just kicking off the mastermind. What's your big, crazy, ridiculous dream? And he goes, and I felt myself sliding into my seat because I knew he was going to ask me.
Yeah.
I knew I had to be honest. So Mike goes around, he gets to me and he says, what's your big, crazy, ridiculous dream? I was like, well, I always loved true life movies and I love the movie Rudy. And I thought, well, what if they made a movie about me, but who am I to have a movie made about me? And Mike slammed his hands on the table, got right in my face. He goes, "Who are you not to?
That's Mike.
Who are you not to have your dream?" And I was like, "Oh," you know. And boom, in that moment, my next dream was born and got clarity. And so it took me 9 years to write the movie script, but here
Yep.
it is. I had to learn how to do it, learned a ton about storytelling, and now I'm in the process of trying to sell it to Hollywood.
So let me ask you, who would you pick to play you?
That's a great question. I have to
Who
look
would
at
you
what are
pick?
the cool kids look like these days that are actors. Mark Brown. Mark was my coach. He was the '95 world champion of
Mhm.
public speaking, and he changed my speaking forever. We could talk about that if you want. But when I asked him, I said, "Mark, because it's a big part of my story." I said, "Mark, who's going to play you?" He's like, "Denzel." Like, he didn't even hesitate. Denzel Washington. Come on.
Now, how much of all of this transformation of doubters to belief to step in, how much of this is transformation of skill and how much is rekindled faith in yourself and self-belief?
I think it's also, faith in our faith.
Yes.
What is that? What am I supposed to do?
Mhm.
And I really feel like I'm supposed to tell this story in the movie. Now I'm writing the book version because somebody in
Yes.
Hollywood said write the book version. So I'm yeah. So we talked about this before a little bit off camera. So I've been praying. I've been
Mhm.
praying
Yes.
about this. I've had some crazy things happen in my life. I ended up at the premiere of the Reagan movie last August,
Mm.
and I met Sean McNamara, who is the director of Soul Surfer, and he's the director of a movie coming out right now called Soul on Fire.
Mhm.
And anyway, I got to meet him, and it was like that's another story. But I'm sitting in my seat, and guy comes over to me, big scruffy beard. He's like, "Is this R432?" And I was like, "Well, that's actually at the end of this aisle, but it'd probably be easier to go around back." And he goes, "Thank you." He starts walking away. I go, "Wait, what?" And I run up to him. I'm like, "Are you Sean McNamara?" He goes, "Yeah." And so I look at it that like God brought him over to me
Mhm.
because I didn't. I was trying to be like, "Don't be fanboy, don't be fanboy," because I'm with 2,000 Hollywood people, and I'm just like,
Divine opportunity is a great thing to step into, but a lot of people don't step into divine opportunities.
"Yep, amen,
But
amen."
that's another one of those self-doubts, I think. Those are those self-doubts that we have of, he would never stop to talk with me. No, I'm going to bother him. And I've heard from so many celebrities, actors, leaders, they actually want you to talk to them.
Hmm.
They actually want to give wisdom and inspire back. So they wish sometimes you would go stop them like you did and run up and get the information.
Yeah, at that point, I didn't care. I was like, "Okay, I can't hold back." And then I don't know. Did you see the movie I Can Only Imagine?
Absolutely, I did. Yes.
So the creators of that are the Irwin brothers. They have a company called the Kingdom Story Company. I'm
Yes.
in the after party at the Reagan thing, and guy walks by in a derby, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And then he walks by again. It was like God saying, "Go talk to him." I was like, "Are
Yes.
you Andy Irwin?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I love I Can Only Imagine. One of my favorite movies." He goes, "Well, thank you. You made my day." So anyway, like I prayed and these amazing things happen, but I haven't been doing much lately to
Mm.
get the movie created or reach out. I follow up on leads, but it's not like I'm doing something every day. And then about 2, 3 months ago, one of my students, who was my accountability buddy when I was working on 17 Minutes to Your Dream,
Hmm.
she just reached out randomly. I hadn't talked to her in a year, and she's like, "Hey, Darren, I have to tell you, I'm decided to write a book. So to get re-inspired, I went back and reread 17 Minutes to Your Dream, and here's my day one." And she sends me a screenshot. So in 17 Minutes to Your Dream, I tell people every day, pick an accountability buddy, open up your stopwatch. Open up your
Yep.
stopwatch, sit down and focus for at least 17 minutes.
Right.
And we're hoping you get caught up and you go more. But if you can do it every day, you can gain momentum and get breakthroughs. Anyway, so she says, "Here's my day one." Boom. I was like, "Well, that's cool." So I go to bed. Next morning, I wake up. I'm like, "Wait a minute. I forgot to do stuff. To
Oh.
do what made me successful with my last dream is when I just push myself. I did stage
Right.
time, stage time, stage time. I realized I'm praying now for this thing to happen. God's been having these amazing things happen, but I haven't been hustling. Hustle and pray.
Hustle and
Boom. There it is. So I got a divine download. So I went back every day. Since then, I've been writing, that version of my story in book format. And I started, if you're listening to this, you can go to Substack, substack.com. It's an article bank in place. So if you look up Hustle and Pray, I'm putting chapters out there a couple times a week and asking for feedback. Hey, is this good? Should this be in the book? So I'm trying to inspire by example. And when this is for me, Trigger, I feel like when I do that, showing people, doing daily videos, here's what I did today. I'm inspiring by example. And I feel like that's what I was called to do.
So I was going to mention that. I was on your YouTube channel in preparation for the show. You just dropped one today. It's only like a minute 13, but you are inspiring about this very concept that we're discussing right now about dreaming big, go for your dreams, stepping into them. But I went back and you're like dribbling these things all over the place all the time. What does that mean for you to inspire people to get over what you went through yourself? The doubt, the pain, the shame. What's it like to you to be the voice of support now?
I feel like that's what I'm meant to do. Like even, starting to stand up and having that story of quiet, shy, introvert Darren, who goes on to be the world champion, the least likely person to ever do that.
Right.
I wish I could explain it. I feel like it's my mission. It's my purpose. And when I do, and when I inspire people, like my initial dream was the ha-has, and now it's the ahas.
I also want to brag on your accomplishment. I truly mean this. I saw the video clip of you sitting on a little chair, talking to the empty chair. It's part of your keynotes. You're talking to the young version of yourself. Now, people have shared their stories, but you actually are dramatizing that conversation, and you have a child's voice speaking back at you. That is a powerful concept because we've all thought about going back, talking to our younger self. It's a common interview question, but you actually reveal the conversation. You actually expose yourself both as a child and as an adult. How powerful, and what made you do that to expose yourself that raw like that?
Well, it actually came from one of your previous guests. I had an idea with Mike Rayburn years ago. Mike Rayburn, great speaker, MikeRayburn.com. He had this hologram that he did. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but he did a hologram keynote where he played guitar with a hologram of himself playing guitar. And in a conversation, he and I chatted about it. I was like, what if you had your son, do a little hologram of you when you were young, and you went back and had a conversation? He loved the idea, and he never did anything with it. So I went back to him. I'm like, hey, if you're not going to use that, now we're talking hologram, which is ginormous investment to not only create, but then to deliver each time. So I said, okay, but how can I? And I think, Trigger, that's one of the things that I got really good at, asking the question, how can I? How can I? What can you do today where you are with what you have? I think too many people wait. Well, when I get this, when the kids move up, shut up. Like, your kids are watching. They hear what you're saying. Your grandkids are watching. They hear what you're saying, but they learn from what you do. They learn from what you do. So I thought, how do I replicate that? So I have two little children. Anyone can find this on TikTok. Get two little children's chairs, like from play school, kindergarten type of thing. And I walk over to that section on the stage, and I sit down, and I had my friend's son record the child voice, and I actually have it embedded into PowerPoint slides. So I'm advancing the slides because I didn't want to try and time it out, because I delivered it that time in front of like 2,000 people. I didn't want to time it out because I want to let them laugh, and I don't know how long that would be. So I literally advance the slide every time the kid talks. And then I advance the slide. So it's an embedded audio. Nothing changes on the screen, but it's embedded audio, and it just really works. And people cry.
It also demonstrates something else you speak about, is the simplicity of communication. You could have gone hologram, big. You simplified this to keep the story in the focus, the intentionality, what you want to convey in the message, but it's powerful. Simple can be powerful.
It usually is, because it's also clear and it's about the audience. So I ask the question when I walk across stage, and I have a little time zone music, time travel music that brings me across the stage. So it adds a little dramatic effect. But I ask the audience, what would you say to the 8-year-old you?
I have a couple more questions for you, but first we want to make sure we get people going to you, because here's your website. What are they going to find when they go there? What are they going to learn about Darren LaCroix?
Does this go to my Darren LaCroix site? I have a lot of sites.
Yes.
So Darren LaCroix, the keynote speaker version. If you want to learn how to be unforgettable on stage, stagetimeuniversity.com. I got a podcast called Unforgettable Presentations. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all of the above. And I feel compelled to share, what I'm learning along the way, not just, oh, look at me, how great I am. Hey, here's my struggle. I didn't want to get up in the morning. I didn't want to sit down and write today, but I did because I have an accountability buddy, So
that transparency is so important, and going to go check out Darren's website, learn more about it, and connect with him deeper and deeper. Now, before we let you go, we're going to have a couple of those fun what if dreaming questions for you. Number one, first of all, you bombed on stage. And if you could turn that bombing on stage into a movie scene, which you're working on a movie script, what would the title be and who would play you? Now, I already asked you who would play you, but what would be the title of that bombing scene?
Well, the movie title, the script title is Least Likely.
Okay.
That bombing scene is, what would I title that? It might be the Epiphany.
Ooh.
It might be the miracle laugh, or the one laugh. The one laugh that changed my life.
How about this one? You do love to dream big, and you have done countless events worldwide, mega audiences. But if you could deliver a keynote on Mars to the first human colony on Mars, you are brought in to make them laugh on Mars or give a keynote. What would your opening segment be on Mars? Dream big.
One decision changes everything. All in.
Oh, marvelous. Darren LaCroix, thank you for being a great guest tonight on Rock the Stage Show and for sharing your insights. Stay in touch, and thank you very much.
All right, go rock the stage now. Go rock the stage.
There we go. Darren LaCroix on Rock the Stage tonight. Another great conversation. And again, this is something we have not delved into before. We have not got into the doubts, the naysayers, the impact it has on us, but how to overcome it. You've got dreams. You've got big, hairy, audacious goals. I know you do. Step into them. Go all in like Darren's talking about. Because you'd be amazed at how many people will cheer you on, will support you, and they come out of the woodworks from people you may not even realize. We all have the doubters. We all have the naysayers. But dream big, and go all the way in. That's going to do it for this week on Rock the Stage Show. We'll come back next week again, 7 o'clock Sunday nights. We premiere another new episode. And you never know who our guest is going to be, or you never know what the conversation is going to be about. Come back and join us again. We'll see you on Roku, Amazon Fire, IPTV, and of course, the Bravehearts TV network. Until next time, I'm the Trigger Rich Bontrager. We'll see you for Rock the Stage Show.